This, as a lot of you may know this is actually my second time in Korea. I was here for a year, then went back to the States for about 9 months, and that is what I call the season of trouble. I call it the season of trouble because I had almost every sort of trouble you could have in those 9 months. I had relationship troubles, I had family troubles, I had financial troubles, you put any word there and put trouble after it, and My Little Pony troubles, probably, I don't remember at all. But I came back to Korea because there were some visa troubles, and so I was very anxious to come back to Korea. I knew I wasn't done with this country yet. I wanted to spend some more time here to get to learn a little bit more. And so by the time I was finally able to come back, I kind of felt like a prisoner inside a glass cage, kind of like clawing at the glass walls, so anxious for anything. And I was flailing around looking for any job. And I found a job that was something. I ended up moving to Busan, and I wasn't happy at my Hagwon. I was having a lot of troubles with the other teachers, with the students. Just things were not working out right. And a lot of you may know that the 11th month termination is illegal. You're not allowed to be fired in your 11th month. So I wasn't fired in the 11th month. I was fired in the 10th month, and then asked to work for hourly pay for another month. So that was all sorts of not good, but I wasn't done with Korea yet, because a lot of good things happened during that time too. I became involved in board games. I found out how much I love board games. I also found out how much I love a particular Russian woman that a lot of you know.
She's really swell, guys. She's the beast.
She's like a supermodel.
But we kind of fell into our relationship, and there was all sorts of romantic fumblings around, and we were making mistakes. 90% of which were my mistakes. That I found out what a wonderful person she is, and was able to kind of stay with me through all this, and it was a real pleasure. And I knew I didn't want to leave Korea yet. So I was looking for some more jobs. I wanted to get out of Busan. I wanted to get back to the city I love most, which is Daegu. Let's hear it for Daegu. Daegu is my favorite city here, favorite city in the world. And I was flailing around trying to find a job, hopefully in Daegu, and I found a job. And it was teaching adults, which I liked. I was interested in doing something like that. What I didn't realize was how bad a split shift really is, where I was working 6:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. with a break in between, but during that time I just kind of like stumble home, fall asleep. But meanwhile, Anna and I are still trying to make it work, and we're still having a relationship. She's in Busan. She was working for, this is all sorts of kind of crazy corrupt. It was a Russian fishing company working in Korea, managed by a Japanese man. And it was all sorts of kind of iffy along the time as this was going on, but she was getting really emotionally abused by her boss. He was making her work ridiculous unpaid overtime. And one day she finally called me. She called me up as I was finishing up my own long shift, and she called me up, and I was talking with her, and she was just kind of at her wit's end, for lack of a better phrase, trying to figure out what to do, and she was just so tired of all this trouble. I finally said, Anna, I'm coming out there. She had to work like a 20-hour day or something ridiculous like that, and then be back the next morning. And I said, Anna, I'm coming there tonight. And I got on the train, went right out to kind of be with her. And when we were talking about it throughout that weekend, I said, Anna, we need to get you away from this company. So we waited until she got, because she wasn't actually employed by a Korean company, so she still had to go back every 3 months for a tourist visa. So she did another visa run, came back, and as soon as she was gone, we packed her up and we moved her to Daegu in with me. I was a little nervous. This was a kind of a surprising change. I wasn't expecting to be living with her this quickly. We had been dating for about 6-7 months, but now we were living together, and there was troubles, but we were making it work, and I was struggling through with this job, and the hours were just killing me. I was getting more and more frustrated with management and all these things, but throughout all this time, I continued to fall in love with all the other parts of Korea. I was falling in love with the food. I was falling in love with the StorySlams. I was falling in love with all the different people I was meeting. Not romantically in love, but like amiable love.
I caught you humping the StorySlam.
Oh, you know, feel that, babe. Yeah, there we go. All right, so woo. We're going through all that, and it's still going good, but I'm still not happy with my job. And finally, I was still trying to find that Hagwon job that or that job that some people have, not everyone, and a lot of people don't find it, but that kind of mythical job that they respect you, you have good hours, they pay you pretty well, and this was awesome, and I was looking for this sort of job, and finally I thought I found that job. It was in Pohang, which it's Pohang, but you know.
I love Pohang.
I'm sorry. There's some good things about Pohang. There are good things about Pohang, but this job, it was a job that almost seemed too good to be true. Great hours, great pay. Everything was just almost too good to be true. And finally, I was able to move with Anna into an apartment where we could officially say we are together and not kind of hide it a little bit, so it felt more official. Unfortunately, as with many things that seem too good to be true, it was too good to be true. And about 3 months into the contract, the owner, who turned out to be about $1 million US in debt to the city of Pohang, ended up picking up and running away to America, leaving 5 Waygooks and 4 Korean teachers unemployed suddenly. So I was flailing about trying to find some job. I wanted to stay in Pohang. I was working odd jobs here and there and trying to figure out how to make it work. And finally, I found a job that wasn't good for me. It was at another Hagwon where I ended up having to work 50 hours a week, teaching 50 classes a week, and I didn't get along with the students, and the students didn't get along with me, and the whole policy of the school didn't get along with me. There was things where a student would get a little butt bump on her arm and say, "Oh, that looks pretty bad." Joking, we might have to cut that arm off. The next day the director called me in. "Lethan, in America, it might be okay to joke about cutting off arms. In Korea, that is not okay." Or I was trying to have some fun, so I brought in my guitar and I taught my students Rainbow Connection, sung by the great Kermit the Frog. And the next day I was called in. "Lethan, Rainbow Connection, a parent called to complain, that's too sexual a song." It's on par with "You're Happy and You Know It" sort of song. So things weren't working out well there. So finally, the day I was finally about to quit, the boss called me in. I had just gotten my parents' reviews, and the boss said, "Lethan, how do you like working here?" Well, I let it out. I said, I hate it here. I'm sorry, like, it's not you. It's just everything about the school, about this education system. And I went on flailing around linguistically for about 5 to 10 minutes, just saying how much I say. I walk home crying every night. I'm a storyteller, so I exaggerated a little bit. And but I went on flailing for a few minutes, and finally he looks at me and goes, "Okay, the parents don't like you. I need to ask you to leave." "Thank you," I said. So my girlfriend, who has still been living with me, but she hasn't been able to find a job because she's Russian and she's not a native English speaker, even though she speaks better English than I do. We finally realized, why do we have to stay in Korea? We can look around, and so finally we found a job in China, and as of this Friday, she and I will both be moving to China, where we will begin our new jobs at a university in China. And so, the lesson I have learned, while you're in Korea, give it your all, try your best, but sometimes there gets to be a point when you have to say with all your best Cartman pomp and circumstance, you have to say, "Screw you guys, I'm going to China." Thank you very much.